Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hotel News Now podcast. I'm Sean McCracken here with Ashford's Jeff Borman. Jeff, how are you doing today?
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
So, I had the thought before we did this. So Jeff does his own podcast called No Show, which is fantastic. I would suggest everybody listen to it. You guys do such well planned out, elaborate intros, and I was like, oh, I should come in here with like the most like stellar intro and like knock his socks off. And like, you know what? No, I'd rather not, and just tip my cap there and not try and copy that.
Well, I appreciate that. I think a lot of our guests are embarrassed. Matt does great sleuthing.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things I have very little to do with. That's all him.
Yeah, I am continually impressed by somebody who completely phones in every intro to every podcast by just saying hello and then chattering on for a couple of minutes. This is the easy way out.
I appreciate it. No intro is good.
So Jeff, obviously you are a revenue expert. That's what you do at Ashford. You are on the HSMAI revenue board. While I have you here, let's get a bit of your expertise. So what's new and interesting? What do you think are the big trends in your space right now?
A lack of volatility is my favorite trend. I don't even know that's really a trend. It's a stable, flat-ish line. You'd want it to be a more aggressive rising line. Top lines, right? All things commercial, we'd like to see more growth, but I think the lack of volatility, the predictability at this time of year is pretty welcome. We're probably going to see numbers from your team this week that don't show a lot of growth next year, and that's been the theme for a while. But what we're not going to have is going into a budget season where we are missing the mark by 20%. Right?
Yeah.
Those days are long gone, and thankfully so. Predictability is far better.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel, I mean, the flip side of that, right, is that the growth story it's hard to cook that up out of thin air in the way that maybe you could have in the past. Yeah. Not to say anybody's making things up, but when it's volatile, you can at least say, it's easier to say, well, it could swing up quickly, right? Like, don't you kind of miss that?
No, I don't miss that at all. We still have volatility. You look at our ski resorts in Q1, and snowfall was terrible, right? I mean, and so it's still easy to look at where we missed the mark. It's easy to find a windfall and say that's the thing that did it. At this hotel, it was a phenomenal group, or there was a great event, right? We capitalized on a market opportunity, right? We still have those opportunities up and down, but I think business planning being much easier. Capital planning being easier. Those things are very, very welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think generally people want to know where they're going in life. That makes things easier.
Yeah.
So I want to pick your brain a little bit too. At the recent HSMAI conference, you did a session kind of workshopping and brainstorming around ancillary revenue. What do you think's going on in that space? What would you like to see? What are people not doing that you would like them to do? Kind of just let me know what you think is new and interesting there.
Yeah, I think it builds from the first question about stability, but anemic growth is we got to find new ways to make money. And a lot of the costs that have gone up significantly, well, everyone's really excited that inflation's cooling, but those costs aren't coming back down.
Yeah.
Right. Insurance costs was a big buzz this time last year. 10% increases for 7 straight years. Well, wow, we sure feel better that those things aren't rising as aggressively, but we're not undoing that elevated cost either. So as we look at where we're going, we need to find new streams of revenue. We look at parking and fees, and I think we've tapped out the things pretty aggressively that are right there in front of us. Yeah. The challenge is getting new revenue streams into these businesses and finding ways that guests are happy to pay, right? We own a phenomenal resort in the Caribbean too, but one of them in particular comes to mind because we have a partnership with a company called Red that does activities in the water, and they own a catamaran. Well, how do we bundle that better? Yeah. Right? How do we put that into something that the guest looks at that hotel, looks at the experience that they can have, and says, sure, I want to pay $500 to go out on a sunset sail on the catamaran. Yeah. I want to choose that hotel to begin with, right?
Yeah.
The next day, I want to spend $500 to have a full cabana at my disposal instead of sitting in the kind of pedestrian part of the pool.
Yeah.
Right. I think we need to do a lot better job, and those examples aren't going to wow anyone out there. But what we were doing at HSMAI, and what I hope we can help the industry then do, is collectively pool all of those suggestions and put together a way that any hotel leader or owner can dive right into and say, here's 50 things we can do to grow ancillary revenue that make guests happy and move the needle positively for us. We're not there yet with that work from HSMAI, but I think we're off to a very good start. We collected some good ideas, and I think we're going to start to try to plug in ways for hotels to engage through vendors that have expertise, right? If putting an antenna on your building, right, it's not something every hotel thinks about. But it can drive straight cash to the bottom line. But how do you go about doing that? Very few people really have an idea. Well, let's get the experts in here who have done that, provide 3 vendors who do the licensing and the permitting, and get them in here and do it. Our role at HSMAI is to provide that path for anybody who wants to engage.
Yeah. It seems like, I mean, you mentioned the experience part of it. It seems like monetizing experience is a continual just friction point in this industry. And it's so important, but if you just pay to have high-end experience, then it's hard to tell what the ROI is. And if you're nickeling and diming your guests, then it doesn't feel like it's hard to find that equilibrium, right?
You can get away with a nickel and diming for a while. It will catch up to you, right? People don't come back. And that has to be a concern of the operator, but the owner also. We need our guests to want to come back. And while it's hard to show the ROI on the social media that's had a great time at in a photo on Insta, it's hard to show an ROI on. But in aggregate, it's there, and we need guests having those experiences that they say, yeah, $500 for a cabana for the day was our best day.
Yeah.
That's the experience we need.
Yeah. It is interesting to me when you think of kind of the airline analogy to it is, nobody wants to get nickeled and dimed like they do on Spirit Airlines, but they also don't want that really low-end experience you get at Spirit Airlines. So maybe it's if you find out the right way to get that experience, people will pay for it, right? Like,
last week, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, airlines earnings calls. I think I counted 6, 7, 8 that all mentioned some form of the strategy moving forward is premiums, right? And it was anything from Korean Air retrofitting flights to Southwest, allowing you to pick your seat. But that was, to me at least, reading through those scripts, that was probably the biggest theme in airline scripts was got to get people to buy premium.
Yeah, that's how Delta's been winning, right?
And how Americans been losing.
Yeah, well, yeah, amongst other reasons. So, you personally, at Ashford, you're at an ownership company primarily. Ashford does a lot of things, but I'm mostly known for the REITs that Ashford manages. What was it like making the transition in your discipline from the brands to ownership? And has that changed your perspective at all?
Perspective is the exact word. When I think about when I was in the hotel world, whether it was my time at Marriott, my time at Hilton, it was a very different way of seeing the world at a hotel versus at the corporate office. And I think it's a very similar parallel to being on the ownership side. It's just a different perspective. And the example I've given is around the culinary, right? Somebody at the corporate office can read a recipe, you can write a recipe. You really aren't a cook until you've cooked it, right?
Yeah.
And there's that difference between corporate and a field role.
Yeah.
We feel the same thing from an ownership side, right? It's just a different perspective on the business. The ROI that is expected of everything we do, that's really what we do. We put, we make bets on things that pay off. That's what we're paid to do.
Yeah.
And we have to balance the entire business, of course, right? We can't do things that upset guests. We can't do things that upset the employees. We have to balance that like an operator, but not just like an operator, just a little bit different.
Do you find yourself pushing for more or less risk as an owner?
More. I think the complacency that happens at a hotel level, I'll probably get in a little trouble for that word. But I think hotels, they go through the day to day, and they're, we have, at least from an ownership's perspective, the ability to see it from a place that says, let's make a step change, not a small one, take a chance on something great.
Yeah.
Even if the hotel has that burning desire to go be innovative, they either need the cash or the support, the clearance that comes with ownership. That's probably the most fun part of the job, actually, is we get to say, where are the great ideas, and go fund them.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably, if you're somebody on property or even at the management level, it's probably a lot easier for you to take risk if your owner is there supporting you in that,
Totally. In fact, it might be the best role I serve with the commercial teams I work with is things they want to do. They need some air cover. Okay. Hey, owner's on board. Go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're the bulletproof vest.
I think more people would probably say I'm the one with the gun, but yeah, I like your analogy a lot better.
Neither one is super positive, I guess. So, I mean, what do you wish you would have known then from the ownership side from back when you worked at the brands? Is there any lessons learned from both sides of the fence?
How to present opportunity, right? Our operators and our commercial leaders are so deep into the relationships with customers. They know what they want. I have to ask them, what is it that would really make, your group numbers go up seismically different, right? 20% better in volume. Like, what do you need to do that? I can ask that question. When I was at the hotel, I don't remember ever being asked. So that's part of my role is to go fishing for, where that next opportunity lies. To answer your question on what they can do is bring those things proactively. And that's not just the ownership group that I'm part of. I don't know any owner who doesn't want that. But most find themselves in a situation where they're trying to go find that from the hotels. So put together, here's what we think we can do to go be innovative. And I bet you get a lot more support than you'd think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you had the chance to go back to working for the brands today, which I'm not saying you do, I'm not urging you to make a career decision. What would you tell owners though? Have you learned a way to communicate that's any more effective?
No surprises.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple, but show the cards, right? This is what we look like. And when, if I were in one of those roles, being able to share risk and upside, I would do that far more proactively. Hey, listen, we think we've got opportunity out, 6 months from now. We're a little hesitant to put it out there in our forecasts, but we think things are good. And from an owner standpoint, I really appreciate that. But it also gets that, okay, so maybe we can do some innovative things if we've got a little more room, a little more wiggle room later in the year. Of course, the converse is true. We don't need to talk about the downside, and that is, if things don't look so good, please don't wait until you can't fix the problem to announce it. Right?
Yeah. So I know I'm needling a lot on the kind of the owner brand dynamic, but I am curious, as somebody who worked on that side and now is on the other side, there's been a lot of focus in the last few years, and maybe even one of the top selling points for brands has been kind of their revenue management systems. Like, it's all about the system now, and it's a huge selling point for a given brand family. Like, this is powering our revenue management. How do you feel about the state of revenue management automation? And do you think it's where it needs to be? Do you think that it's taken any of the artistry out of it? Or do you think it's served that purpose that, it offloads the menial work, so now you can be a strategist instead of a manager?
I think the difference is really at play right now. And you see a lot of dialogue around commercial instead of sales, revenue, marketing, right? Who's the commercial lead? That development is in very different stages across the business.
Yeah.
I think underneath that is your question about just the tech or the systems, revenue management system stuff. The big brands they got the best access to it. But what they don't have with that, by their own choosing, because they could do it differently if they wanted to, is the ability to plug and play nuanced opportunities that are out there with the thousands of different vendors that are in this space, right? If you want to be great at managing your spa, there are plenty of softwares that you can use. What integrates into the big system that you've decided to put into your hotel and your whole platform? Are you willing to go out and build something that individual hotels can take great advantage of? Or are you going to build a closed-walled system and say we can do everything ourselves?
Yeah.
Right. If you're putting up those barriers, you're denying a whole lot of opportunity out there.
I feel like maybe if there's a through line to this, then it's the power of partnership, right? You got to find the people who are experts in what they do and leverage that.
In any environment, not just our industry, being able to take the best of the best and put it into your business should be fundamental to whatever structure you design around your tech.
I mean, especially from an investor perspective, because no investor can purport to know everything about everything.
Nor can you predict, right, that this software will solve my next problem I don't know about. But you can anticipate that moment's going to come and be ready to plug and play really quickly. That's lacking.
Yeah. So I'm going to shift gears here a little bit and talk a little, I guess maybe on a more personal level. Right at the top, I mentioned that you're a podcaster. You guys do the No Show podcast. How does one go from being a revenue manager to a podcaster? What was the pathway there?
A bar stool. No joke. Matt's background, my partner in the show, he was at the National Association of Broadcasters when we met 20 plus years ago. Yeah. And we were at a bar stool in DC midweek, and he got some announcement. I think it was from Marriott Rewards at the time, and it said, "Here's what we're doing." And he asked me about it. I said, "Oh, well, here's what they're trying to do. Here's why you, the consumer, got that note. Trying to mitigate a little risk on this, and customers who don't engage with that." And I just kind of explained the why behind what he was feeling as a traveler. That conversation continued for years until we finally put a microphone and a recording device on it. And that's really what it was. So explaining the why. Why does travel work this way? I think it's evolved now to where I get to ask the questions instead of just answer them. And that's the tremendous fun of doing it.
The funny part about that is you act like that's the evolution. And I always think like how lucky I am to get to ask questions and not have to answer them.
I could ask you a few.
I'd rather not. So, I mean, I imagine that you find that kind of rewarding if you want to keep doing it, right?
Yeah, we love it. We do it because we love it. We do it because we love travel. That's the passion. We did an episode yesterday that will air soon with the president of the American Field Service, and that's a foreign exchange student program. It's a little on the left field for what we talk about. But we get into the things that underlie travel, borders, visas, right? The spark that comes when you send a teenager overseas for the first time, and the way that passion to see the world never goes away from that moment, right? Our show isn't just about what's a prediction for RevPAR in 25. We like to get into the things that passionate travelers are into. Why? The why behind the travel.
To that point of kind of tying different topics back to travel, as somebody who came up as a newspaper reporter, local newspaper reporter, it's something you always learn is you can localize anything. There's a new pope, you can localize it. So I think that's true of kind of like an industry or a beat or any, you can always localize it in one way or the other. So it's the same concept, right?
Travel touches everybody, right? And it's one of the few things that people are ubiquitously passionate about, right? My grandmother's 102 years old. The thing that she regrets most about being 102 years old is she can't go places.
Yeah, well, I'm sure she went to quite a many in that time.
She and my grandfather were my inspiration to see the world in the first place. My grandfather would, as he traveled around in retirement, of course, they were cruisers in the 1980s, and when he would meet people, he would not only send postcards to me from everywhere they went, but he would also ask the people he met to go back to their homes, and he would give them my address, and they'd send a postcard.
That's amazing.
From around the world from age 5 to 15. I was getting postcards from all over the planet, and it set the whole thing in motion for me.
You know what is wonderful to hear about that? I have a 7-year-old son, and within probably 3 years ago now, my father retired, and his big thing was, as soon as I retire, I'm just going to travel. He got himself an RV, and he's that guy now. He drives around the entire country, but his thing is wherever he goes, he sends a postcard back to my son.
That's so cool. I'm so glad to hear that.
So I'm glad to hear that it's rewarding and it's something that sticks with you, because it's one of those things you can never tell in the moment with a child, like how much how much it really registers with them and how much it's just white noise. So that's a wonderful story to hear.
When I went to Sydney, I've only been there once. When I went there the first time in 2012 and saw the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Opera House, my entire image had been held in my mind for 25 years from a postcard that a woman had sent that my grandma met on a cruise. And it was such a magical experience to see with my own eyes something that I had just seen on this tiny little 5x7 card.
Yeah.
Magical.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time. Jeff, I really appreciate it. You got any last words of wisdom for our audience here?
No, zero words of wisdom. I like your idea of localism, though. We hadn't really, it was never something that we'd consciously thought of, but I'm going to take that with me.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. So thanks again, Jeff.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Davon Reed.
I'm Omari Head.
And I'm Chris Henry.
We're the hosts of the Next Gen and Lodging podcast on the Hotel News Now podcast network. It's a monthly show in which we interview a new generation of hoteliers to get their insights into a variety of disciplines and topics, from finance to food and beverage and hotel operations. Listen to us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode of the Hotel News Now podcast was recorded on August 7th, 2024 at the Hotel Data Conference and edited by me, Sean McCracken. Go to hotelnewsnow.com for the latest industry news every day.